3 months unemployed. Savings drained to $47 and change. I'd applied to everything: grocery stores, gas stations, even those sketchy door-to-door sales gigs. Nothing. My landlord's patience had expired 2 weeks ago, and eviction notices don't care about your sob story. That's how I found myself scrolling through page 6 of job listings at 3 a.m., eyes burning from screen glare. Most people give up after page 2. Desperation makes you thorough. The cursor hovered over listings I'd normally laugh at. But when you're facing homelessness, pride becomes a luxury you can't afford. That's when I saw it. HollowBrook Storage Solutions. The company name meant nothing to me. Google turned up 0 results, no website, no reviews, no social media presence. In today's digital world, that's practically impossible. But the salary, $42.50 an hour for night security with no experience required? I calculated quickly, that's $85,000 a year. For watching empty storage units. My last job paid $12 an hour before they laid me off. This had to be a scam, or a typo, or some kind of sick joke. But what if it wasn't? What if this was the break I desperately needed? I attached my resume and hit send at exactly 3:47 p.m. The timestamp burned into my memory because of what happened next. My phone buzzed immediately. Not 5 minutes later, not an hour, immediately. The response time was inhuman. No legitimate company processes applications that fast. The email was bare bones. Interview location, time, what to bring. No company letterhead. No professional formatting. Just coordinates and instructions. GPS showed an industrial district I'd never heard of. The professional part of my brain screamed warnings, but the desperate part, the part facing eviction, was already planning what to wear to the interview. The industrial park sat on the city's forgotten edge, where streetlights gave up and shadows took over. Rows of warehouses stretched into darkness, their signs glowing like beacons. Martinez Shipping, Allied Electronics, Surplus Solutions. Corporate logos and phone numbers blazed under halogen floods. Then I found HollowBrook Storage. No sign, no lights, just a concrete slab that could have been a bunker, squatting between 2 legitimate businesses like a guilty secret. The building seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. My headlights swept across blank walls and a single metal door that looked more like a vault entrance than a business entrance. She appeared before I even parked, standing perfectly still beside the door like she'd been waiting hours. No smile, no greeting, no small talk. Gray pantsuit, gray hair pulled tight, gray eyes that seemed to catalog everything about me in seconds. She didn't introduce herself or ask my name. Just held the door open with mechanical precision and pointed down a hallway lit by buzzing fluorescence. Her movements were too controlled, too practiced. Like she'd done this exact routine countless times before. The hallway stretched longer than the building should have allowed, lined with identical doors that had no markings, no numbers, no hints about what lay behind them. The office violated every principle of modern business design. No computer, no phone, no windows, just brutal functionality. A metal desk that belonged in a prison, 2 chairs that had seen better decades, and a CRT television with a VCR that probably predated my birth. The fluorescent light overhead flickered with epileptic intensity, casting shifting shadows that made the room feel unstable. No company logos, no mission statements, no motivational posters. Just bare walls the color of institutional beige. The air smelled like disinfectant and something else, something organic and unpleasant that I couldn't identify. This wasn't a business. It was something else entirely. Does anyone expect you home tonight? The question hung in the stale air like smoke. Not when can you start or tell me about yourself, the standard interview fodder. This was different. Personal. Invasive. The kind of question that separated people who'd be missed from those who wouldn't. I should have lied. Should have invented a worried girlfriend or concerned parents. Instead, I told the truth, no. She made a mark on her clipboard with the satisfaction of someone checking off a grocery list. That's when it hit me, this wasn't an interview. It was a screening. And I just passed the wrong test. The VHS tape clicked into place with mechanical finality. The screen flickered to life, showing static that gradually resolved into a facility schematic. The voiceover was computer-generated monotone, the kind that strips all humanity from words. 38 storage units arranged in 4 corridors, each marked with clinical precision. The narrator explained basic duties, hourly patrols, security monitoring, customer assistance during overnight hours. Standard security work. Then the voice changed, became urgent, almost pleading. Your predecessor left specific instructions. Follow them exactly. Your safety depends on it. The screen cut to black so abruptly it felt like a door slamming. My predecessor. Past tense. What happened to them? The woman returned carrying a single sheet of paper. The bottom corner was warped and discolored, bearing a stain that seemed to move when I wasn't looking directly at it. Rules, she said, dropping it on the desk. Memorize them. Her footsteps echoed down the hallway, leaving me alone with instructions written in someone else's desperation. The paper felt wrong, too warm, too soft, like skin rather than paper. The stain wasn't just discoloration, it was liquid, slowly spreading across the page. When I lifted it to read, the moisture transferred to my fingers. It didn't smell like water or coffee or blood. It didn't smell like anything at all, which somehow made it worse. Rule 1. If security cameras show more than 40 units, close the feed for 7 minutes. Never look at Unit 41. Unit 41 didn't exist according to the schematic. Rule 2. If you hear whistling in the East Corridor, whistle back the same tune, once. Never whistle anything else. Why would there be whistling in an empty building? Rule 3. The vending machine restocks at 2:47 a.m. Don't watch. If you see blue packaging after 3 a.m., don't eat it. The facility didn't have a vending machine. Rule 4. There's a coffee mug on the desk. Don't touch it. If the liquid level changes, cut power for 12 seconds. These weren't security protocols, they were survival instructions. Rule 5. Customers may ask to access their units. If their receipt is dated February 29th of a non-leap year, tell them they're at the wrong facility. Never follow them. February 29th in non-leap years doesn't exist. Unless it does here. Rule 6. The parking lot light flickers hourly. If it flickers off schedule, check your reflection in the window. If it's gone, lock yourself in the supply closet until sunrise. How do you lose your reflection? Rule 7. If the landline rings between 3:33 and 3:36 a.m., answer before the third ring. Say HollowBrook Storage. We're full. Nothing else. The specificity was terrifying. Someone had learned these rules through experience. Rule 8. The lobby fan spins counterclockwise. If it reverses, leave immediately. Count backward from 2:47. Ignore the voices. What voices? Rule 9. You'll find sticky notes you don't remember writing. If it's in red ink, burn it. If you've already read it, transcribe it and slip it under Unit 13's door. My own handwriting turned against me. Rule 10. At 5:55 a.m., all cameras will show static. Sit at the desk. Face the door. Don't turn around no matter what. The final rule felt like a trap, like the punchline to a joke where the listener dies laughing. These weren't guidelines, they were a map through a minefield someone else had walked before me. The security office was a concrete box lined with monitors and dread. For screens flickered with camera feeds showing empty corridors and numbered doors. A landline phone sat beside an ancient computer that hummed with electronic menace. And there, exactly as described, sat the coffee mug. Half full of liquid that might have been coffee once upon a time. A lipstick stain marked the rim, coral pink, like someone had been interrupted mid-sip. The logbook lay open beside it, filled with entries in different handwriting. Yesterday's guard had noted the stain as burgundy. I checked again. Still coral. The discrepancy felt important, though I couldn't say why. 10:15 p.m. I pulled out my phone to check the time and found no signal. Not weak signal, no signal at all. The screen showed 0 bars as if the radio waves themselves refused to enter this place. Wi-Fi networks that should have been visible from nearby businesses simply didn't exist. The landline became my only connection to the outside world, but the rules governed when and how I could use it. I was cut off, isolated in a concrete box surrounded by mysteries I didn't understand. The silence was absolute, no traffic noise, no distant conversations, no signs of life beyond these walls. Just the hum of fluorescent lights and the whisper of ventilation systems. 10:15 p.m. I pulled out my phone to check the time and found no signal. Not weak signal, no signal at all. The screen showed 0 bars as if the radio waves themselves refused to enter this place. Wi-Fi networks that should have been visible from nearby businesses simply didn't exist. The landline became my only connection to the outside world, but the rules governed when and how I could use it. I was cut off, isolated in a concrete box surrounded by mysteries I didn't understand. The silence was absolute, no traffic noise, no distant conversations, no signs of life beyond these walls. Just the hum of fluorescent lights and the whisper of ventilation systems. 11:00 p.m. I returned to find the coffee mug exactly as I'd left it, except for one detail: the lipstick stain had changed from coral to burgundy. Not faded or smudged, completely different. I grabbed the logbook, certain I'd recorded it as coral. The entry now read burgundy in my own handwriting. The ink was still wet. I watched the page, willing it to change back, but reality had rewritten itself around me. This wasn't memory failure or hallucination. The past was malleable here, shifting like liquid to accommodate whatever version of events served this place's purpose. I logged the current state as burgundy, knowing tomorrow's guard would find something different entirely. 11:23 p.m. The mug's liquid level dropped before my eyes, like an invisible mouth was drinking from it. Rule 4, if the liquid level changes, cut power for 12 seconds. I sprinted to the breaker box, hands shaking as I counted down from 12. Darkness swallowed the facility completely. No emergency lighting, no exit signs, just absolute black and the sound of my own panicked breathing. When I flipped the breakers back on, the mug was full again. The lipstick stain had returned to coral. But the security feeds showed something impossible, the camera count cycling upward. 38 units. 39. 40. I had 7 minutes to look away before it reached 41. The monitors flickered through their impossible count while I forced myself to look anywhere else. 40 units shouldn't exist according to the building schematic, yet there they were, materializing on screen like cancer cells dividing. I focused on the logbook, on the coffee mug, on my own trembling hands. Anything but the screens. But peripheral vision is a traitor. I caught glimpses of corridors that stretched too far, of doors that shouldn't fit in the available space. The building was bigger inside than outside, defying geometry like a fever dream. When 7 minutes passed and I looked back, we were down to 38 units again. Whatever Unit 41 contained, I wasn't ready to see it. 11:47 p.m. The buzzer announced a visitor, an elderly woman standing with her back to the door. Her posture was wrong in ways I couldn't articulate. Shoulders too high, neck too long, spine curved at angles that suggested broken bones healed incorrectly. "I need to access my unit," she said without turning around. Her voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. I checked the camera feed and asked for documentation. She rotated just her torso, keeping her legs planted like tree roots. Her hand held a receipt dated February 29th, 1991. A non-leap year, an impossible date. "Wrong facility," I said, following the rules. Her head completed the rotation a full 180 while her body remained still. "Are you sure?" she asked, and the receipt in her hand flickered like a bad television signal. February 29th, 1991 became March 1st, 1991, a real date, a valid date. Both versions existed simultaneously, overlapping like double-exposed photographs. My eyes tried to focus on one or the other, but reality wouldn't choose. My mistake, I lied, opening the door. She moved like rewinding footage, each step flowing backward through the motion that had brought her here. The monitors showed her entering Unit 4, though she'd asked for Unit 17. Or had she? Memory became fluid, unreliable. The past rewrote itself again, leaving me uncertain what had actually happened versus what was happening now. She uncoiled like a released spring, joints extending past human limits. Bones cracked with sounds like breaking branches as she elongated through the doorway. The camera feeds couldn't capture her properly. She existed in spaces between pixels, in the static between channels. Unit 4's door opened for her, though she'd never approached it. The interior wasn't storage space, but something else entirely. A room that stretched beyond the building's walls, filled with shelves that held objects I couldn't identify. She moved among them with purpose, selecting items that might have been memories or might have been souls. The receipt crumbled in her hand, both dates dissolving into ash that tasted like February rain. 12:33 a.m. I returned to an office that had rearranged itself in my absence. The desk now faced west instead of east, monitors swapped positions, and a sticky note clung to the edge like a blood clot. Red ink. "Thank you for letting me out." I'd already read it. Too late to prevent whatever consequence that triggered. Rule 9 demanded transcription and delivery to Unit 13 within 10 minutes. But the unit numbers shifted as I walked. 13 became 29, then 4, then back to 13 like a slot machine spinning toward disaster. A hand reached out from beneath the door as I approached, pale fingers expecting their tribute. The note disappeared into that eager grasp, and I heard something that might have been laughter. The coffee mug emptied itself while I watched, liquid flowing upward like reverse waterfalls. 12 seconds to reach the breaker box. Darkness fell like a curtain, and in that blackness, I heard the building reshape itself. Walls sliding, floors rotating, corridors extending and contracting like breathing. When light returned, everything was exactly as I'd left it, except for the growing certainty that exactly was a lie. The mug sat full again, but now bore 2 lipstick stains, coral and burgundy overlapping like competing timelines. The monitors cycled through their impossible count once more. 38, 39, 40. I closed my eyes and counted 7 minutes, letting Unit 41 exist in darkness where I couldn't see it. The rule sheet in my hand began rewriting itself, ink flowing like blood across the page. New rules appeared in handwriting I recognized but didn't remember producing. 11. When you become Helen, write a new rule. Helen? I didn't know any Helen. 12. When you write a new rule, become Helen. The words made no sense until they made perfect sense. 13. When Helen writes you, become a rule. I was reading my own doom in my own handwriting, watching my future inscribe itself in red ink that smelled like copper and desperation. The woman in gray had never told me her name, but I knew it now. She was Helen. Or I was becoming Helen. Or Helen was becoming me. 5:55 a.m. The cameras dissolved into static exactly on schedule, like television stations signing off for the night. But this wasn't empty static. Shapes moved within the white noise, suggesting forms that shouldn't exist. I sat at the desk, facing the door as instructed, fighting every instinct that screamed at me to turn around. Behind me, sounds began, footsteps squelching through puddles that shouldn't exist on a concrete floor. The whistling from the east corridor, now coming from every direction at once. A voice that sounded like my own voice but wasn't, reading rules I'd never written in a language I didn't recognize. The air grew thick with presence, with things that wanted me to look, to see, to understand. The voice behind me grew clearer, more insistent. It was reading from the rule sheet, but the rules were changing as it spoke them. Rule 1. Never trust the static. Rule 2. Always turn around when asked. Rule 3. The coffee mug contains memories of everyone who came before. It was lying, had to be lying, but the lies sounded so reasonable. Just a quick look. Just to verify what was really there. My neck muscles tensed, ready to rotate. My peripheral vision caught movement, shadows that walked upright, approaching from angles that didn't exist. The static cleared for a moment, and I saw Unit 41 open like a mouth, revealing depths that predated the building, the city, perhaps the world itself. 6:00 a.m. The static cleared like morning fog, revealing security feeds that showed the facility as it truly was. Empty corridors, closed doors, no sign of the night's impossibilities. But the coffee mug remained, now bearing both lipstick stains, coral and burgundy, like a kiss from parallel universes. The woman in gray returned precisely on schedule, clipboards and efficiency intact. You'll be contacted if necessary, she said, but I understood now. There would be no contact. The job posting would appear in someone else's desperate search, and they would come here as I had come. The cycle would continue because the cycle must continue. A new sticky note had appeared on the desk. Red ink, my handwriting, words I'd never written but somehow knew by heart. The message was simple. Instructions for the next guard, warnings they wouldn't heed, rules they'd break just as I had broken them. My hand moved without conscious direction, posting the job listing on employment websites. The salary was exactly as advertised, $42.50 an hour. But the payment wasn't in money, it was in taking someone else's place in this terrible rotation. The coffee mug waited for the next guard, and the lipstick stain would change color depending on who was looking. Some jobs don't end, they just transfer from one desperate soul to another. I drove home as sunrise painted the sky, but part of me remained in that concrete box, watching monitors that lied about what they showed. My replacement would arrive tonight or tomorrow night or next week. They'd follow the same rules, make the same mistakes, discover the same terrible truths. And eventually, they'd post the same job listing, trapping another soul in HollowBrook's endless rotation. We survive by maintaining a consistent number, one guard on duty, one guard seeking escape, one guard being processed. The math always balanced, even when nothing else did. If you're listening to this, you've probably seen the job listing. $42.50 an hour sounds tempting when you're facing eviction, doesn't it? The coordinates will lead you to an industrial park, to a building with no sign, to a woman in gray who asks the wrong questions. You'll tell yourself this is different, that you'll be smarter, that you'll follow the rules perfectly. But the rules change and the coffee mug waits, and Unit 41 exists in the spaces between what's possible and what's true. Turn off notifications. Delete the listing. Find another job, any other job. Because HollowBrook Storage isn't hiring security guards. It's collecting them. And once you're part of the collection, the only way out is to bring someone else in.